Some people call us fanatics. I consider ourselves enthusiasts. I am KaijuNoir, and this is Shuwatch!
Super dynamic!
Ultra Force!
Go! Hello, people of the internet. This is Andres Perez, aka KaijuNoir. Welcome to another session of Shuwatch Super Dynamic Ultra Force Go. Here with me, as usual, is David Joshua Hernandez, aka Gorizard.
The internet bows to no man until now.
Oh snap! He's brought back the catchphrase.
Yes, my rant and SOS finally paid off. Okay.
Depending on, I don't know if the audience will understand that reference, Adam, because at the point of recording, Bill still hasn't uploaded that episode.
Well, neither have you. You haven't uploaded any fucking episode either.
Oh, wait, but as of this recording, I have now uploaded episode 10.
Which took how long?
I put the blame on Dylan. And the other person, this charming gentleman with me, is, of course, Adam Noyes from Adam Noyes.
Hello, insects of YouTube. It is wonderful to be here.
So if Adam Noyes is from Adam Noyes, does that mean Adam Noyes is from in Adam Noyes, within Adam Noyes?
Let me tell you what. Adam Noyes doesn't do what Adam Noyes does for Adam Noyes. Adam Noyes does what Adam Noyes does because he is Adam Noyes.
From Adam Noyes.
From Adam Noyes.
Within Adam Noyes.
Within Adam Noyes because he is Adam Noyes.
So let's not waste any more time. So with my section of Shuwatch, I want to talk about the idea of objective viewing versus subjective viewing, how one sees a film and how certain levels of bias affect their way of viewing a film. Now, does
this have to do with Gamergate?
No, this has nothing to do with Gamergate.
Oh, right.
In fact, this idea came from actually from Pacific Rim, where of course, the three of us, we absolutely love Pacific Rim, right?
No shit.
Of course. And we all three of us acknowledge Pacific Rim as being as a really well put together film. Great characters, great story. What?
Stupid plot, but a really kick-ass movie.
Yeah. And yet, whenever I look at reviews or look at people who are not into the things that we are into, they tend to look at Pacific Rim and go, it's okay. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it's okay. It's decent. And I thought to myself, well, do we think it's a great movie because of our love for kaiju films? Or are we looking at it, or do we think it's a great movie because it really is a great movie? And that's what inspired me to come up with this topic on being objective versus being subjective when you're watching a film. Now, for each of you, let's start with you, Adam. Of
course, Adam.
How do you...
What, you mean because I'm the most opinionated person here means that I need to answer all these questions first?
Exactly.
So, for you, Adam, how do you define objective and subjective viewing in your own words?
I'm thinking.
That is a first.
Actually, yes it is. Objective viewing I really see as being able to sit down and just sit back and watch a movie for what it is. For if it has, for example, if a movie is just a plain old action movie like Versus, then you watch it as a pure old action movie for Versus, and you look at it, a movie as it is. You don't go in there with prior opinions. Whoever is typing, please stop typing loudly.
There's a reason why I put that in text so that we wouldn't have to interrupt the actual recording. You stupid fuck.
It was Andres, by the way.
Of course, blame the Mexican. No, I wouldn't blame. I wouldn't use the race card. I wouldn't use the race card. I'm too white to use the race card. Anyway, sorry.
Well, Adam can. No, I'm just kidding. Well, he might.
He doesn't have
Keep
any.
going.
He doesn't have any cards to use.
Andreas is right.
Anyways, continue, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, objective viewing is just on face value, looking at a movie without any bias towards it whatsoever. You're just going in there with like a clean slate, and you're just viewing the movie for what it is. You view Versus as an action movie. You view Gettysburg as a war movie. You just go in there and look at it, take it at face value. Subjective viewing is when you're going in there with the bias. When you're going in there because either a director made it, a writer wrote it, an actor is in it, or some other kind of bias you have either for the film or against the movie, and that way you're either more likely going to like the movie more than necessarily a lot of other people would, kind of like me and Tusk, or you're going to hate it more, or you're going to dislike it more than the general populace because you have a certain bias towards that film.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
So for you, David, how would you personally define objective and subjective viewing?
First off, those are big words for David.
God damn it! Did you know I was gonna ask the definitions?
No, I wasn't. But I assume you had some sort of idea listening to Adam.
Kind of. Okay. Okay, what's subjective and objective?
Okay, never mind.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, right. So, with objective viewing, you're watching it as a movie with no bias going in. You're looking at the movie for, as Adam said, what it is, and you're looking at it. I always tend to see watching a film objectively as you're being more critical of it because you're looking at this with the idea of this should stand on its own. Whereas with subjective viewing, I always saw that as being you are being subjective to the film itself, meaning that you're allowing it to be what it is. And what I mean by that is, like, you know how there are people like us who, after we see a movie, we tend to analyze it, we tend to review it, we tend to discuss it, we talk about the ideas coming from this movie, and I see that as being objective. Whereas you have people who just go to the movies and they see the movie and they simply accept it for what it's worth. They don't care if it's good or bad, they just see it as entertainment. And I feel like that's being subjective. Adam, would I be wrong in looking at objective and subjective in that sort of way?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Was that a real question or rhetorical?
Real.
Because that was pretty much what I wanted to say, but probably didn't say it right. But I mean, it's kind of like me. I remember I did a review for an analysis of Gorath, and I remember Andres criticized me for it, saying that, and I'm not being cynical here, I'm not, because he was right, because he felt like I was overly gushing over the visual effects, and because of that, I lost sight of the story and the weak characters. And I'm a visual effects guy. I'm a visual effects geek. I love visual effects. And so, like a film like that, Battle in Outer Space, I already have a bias towards the film because of how wonderful the visual effects are. However, there's like movies like Avatar that have great visual effects, but have such a shitty plot, and such shitty, noticeable plot, that makes me say it's the most overrated movie I've ever seen. And yeah, I mean, also it didn't help that James Cameron directed it, and I don't really care for James Cameron too much.
So there's already that bias going into it. So
is.
So would you say you were looking at Avatar more subjectively?
Yeah, definitely. Because I went into the theaters knowing that I'm probably not going to like it.
So where would you draw the line between being subjective and objective? If subjective means you're going to look at it more critically, or subjective, or is it going to be subjective because you're going to judge it more harshly because of your certain biases? Where do you draw the line? I
will always say that I view films more subjectively than objectively. I fully admit that.
Mm-hmm.
I always will admit that. I watch films that I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. I can say probably the most objective I've ever been towards a movie in a long time
Mm-hmm.
is probably Tusk. Because I had no idea what this movie was going to be about going into theaters.
Mm-hmm.
No fucking clue. I hadn't even seen trailers for it. I haven't even seen any posters for it, but Bill said, Adam, we were going to go see Tusk, so I went to see Tusk, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my kind of humor.
Well, let's see. For you, David, do you tend to see movies most of the time? Do you tend to look at movies subjectively or objectively?
Now I look at movies more objectively, and way back in the days when I was a 1998 extremist, as I like to call myself, I looked at movies more subjectively because well, I was a dick back then. I was a stupid kid.
As opposed to now.
Yeah, as opposed to now.
He's a fucking genius. Yeah.
Back then, I thought I was like basically I thought I was a know-it-all. I thought I like
You were a hot
knew,
shot.
Yeah, because I kind of like I researched how to write screenwriting all by myself before I ever took a screenwriting 101 at community college. So because of that, I thought, I got the internet, so I know everything. And I thought that included movies as well, but, you know, pondering back on it now, I don't think so anymore. So now, I look at movies a little bit more objectively. Like, every now and then, I do look at movies more subjectively,
Feel a
like,
little bit lonely?
kind of. What does that have to do with anything?
I'm quoting the song.
Was he talking to the cat?
I don't know. It's Adam.
All right.
What fucking cat?
The cat in your head, in your imagination, Adam.
I thought you owned a cat, Adam.
At home.
Yeah, I thought he was talking to the cat.
He's not at home.
Oh shit. Okay, well,
And that time when he was on SOS talking about a cat, he was at Bill's house.
Jew cat.
All right, fine. I had a point. Now I'm trying to remember it. All right. The only time I ever do look at a film subjectively is when I watch like a critically acclaimed movie, like let's say Citizen Kane or
2001,
or Seven Samurai. You know, critically acclaimed films because you know they've been acclaimed for a reason. So I try to see these films with a critical mind. But with a film like let's say let's say modern day films, I try to look at them more objectively because you know I try not to judge a book by its cover anymore. The only time I break that type of rule is when I see a Transformers sequel, and when I saw Age of Extinction, I kind of like watched it a little bit more subjectively than objectively because I knew what to expect because this is Michael Bay. He never learns.
Or rather, he doesn't care because he's going to make money either way.
That too. And so I was right. The movie sucked. It was the same garbage I seen before, except now it's in a different setting.
And now Michael Bay has your penis.
Exactly.
I'm pretty much like you, David, where for the most of the part when it comes to films are coming out now and the movies that I go out to see, I try to be as objective as possible. I try to see the movie for what it is. I look at it like I always think at the end of the day, is this a good movie? Not is this a good animated movie, a good family movie? Is this a good sci-fi movie? Just is this a good movie on its own terms?
That reminds me. When I first saw Akira, I saw it more objectively because I had no idea what it was about, but I heard it was one of the best anime films out there, and a huge landmark in the genre. I watched it objectively, and after I first saw it, I was like, "What the fuck?" I haven't felt that mindfuck since End of Evangelion, and because of that, I didn't like it at first. So the second time I watched it a little bit more subjectively, and you know, from a critical point of view, I understood why it's a good movie, and because of that, I like it more than I did on my first viewing.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of films like that. I want to say I viewed the anime Death Note like that, not knowing anything about the anime except for some of the soundtrack, and I fell in love with it because of that. I was thrown into it, and because I went in there with nothing but a clean slate, I was completely blown away by it. I took it at face value, and I am definitely in the minority when I say I love N, I love Nier.
Mm-hmm.
When a lot of people hate him, but because of that lack of knowledge about it, I just took it at face value, and I was like, without no opinions in the back of my mind about it, I was like, I like him. And then, of course, I found out later that everyone fucking hates him, and I'm like, well, you guys are stupid.
It's almost kind of like it's almost kind of like with me and Gurren Lagann, where in Gurren Lagann there's this there's a really popular character named Kamina, and he has a brother named Simon, and Simon he's supposed
Seaman.
It's supposed to spell like Simon, but for some reason they spell it in with like an accent on the I.
Seaman.
So I don't want to get into spoilers, but Kamina is a really popular character in that anime. Yet there comes a point where you don't see much of him later on, and people are really upset about that because they tend to see Kamina as like the main character of that show because he's the most headstrong, he's the most like hot-headed, he's like the one who's like very in your face. And yet, when I saw the show for the first time, I was like, well, he's not really the main character. This is supposed to be Simon's story. This is supposed to be his character arc. And his brother Kamina, he's kind of like that mentor figure that's there to take him so far, like that Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of role. And yeah, it's sort of like that thing where a large majority of people do not like a certain change in the story, yet I was like, I don't see any problem. But anyways, back on the subject.
Well, so now since we were on the subject of anime, I have to say that I watch every single anime from a objective point of view, and this was extremely important from when I first saw Death Note. I knew it was like this overhyped anime, but I didn't understand why because I never got into it until that time. So I watched it from a more objective than subjective point of view, and that made me love it. That's what kind of got me hooked into it because I didn't know what to expect, but it was an anime. I heard it was good, so yeah, I'm gonna watch it. But I didn't watch it from like a critical point of view, like, okay, how's the story? How are the characters? And needless to say, I do watch Evangelion. Whenever I do watch Evangelion, I do watch it now from a subjective point of view because that's technically how you're supposed to view it. But I first viewed it from an objective point of view as well at first, and that's what made me love it even more because it felt like more than what I was anticipating or expecting. And the same goes with Death Note and Evangelion, etc., and Akira.
I think it tends to be the case, like with me. I do tend to watch anime objectively. However, there was the point when I guess the mistake. I mentioned how. Well, I think I mentioned this in before in the past, where the first time I saw Evangelion, the anime series, it was not a very pleasant one. For the second half of the series, it left a really bad taste in my mouth. And I think that the reason why was because I was looking at it subjectively with a bias going into it, because of this previous knowledge I had of other mecha anime, and I made the mistake of trying to compare Evangelion to how previous mecha animes work, when it really is a unique being in and of itself. So whenever I look at Evangelion, I tend to see it now as more objectively, especially now that I started reading the manga. And Adam, thank you so much for recommending that manga. I'm almost done with Volume 1, which is like it's like this special version of Volume 1 where it's like a compilation of the first 3 volumes. And yeah, I've been really digging it. I've noticed how like Shinji, he's a lot more not angsty, but he's a lot more like pessimistic in this version.
He's a lot more, or what I've discovered in the manga, he's a lot more, in my opinion, especially later on, he gets more angry.
Yes, he is very angry in this one.
This version of Shinji in the manga is very bitter.
Yes, he's very pissed off at the cards he's been dealt with in life. He's like,
and
fuck everyone.
There is a couple. There are quite a few things that I don't like about the manga. One of them being the changing of Shinji's eyes from blue to brown.
How could that bother you when it's a black and white manga? I mean, I'm sure the covers and certain color sequences, but for the most part, it's a black and white.
Here's why. Yui. His mom.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't like the changing color. But the biggest thing I don't like about the manga is
Kaoru.
Is what they did to Kaoru. I hate what they did to Kaoru. Hate it. Detest it.
Well,
However,
it
was still a pretty damn good manga. I was very happy to read it, and I can say that overall, it's definitely my favorite ending.
Ooh, I will say this when it comes to the subject of anime. We mentioned how we're looking at things at anime objectively, subjectively, whatever. Now, anime is the byproduct of a completely different culture they're made these like TV shows, movies, OVAs, they're all made by people with a different sort of background than we do. So when we tend to go into a foreign product, do you think it's more subjective when we're trying to compare, let's say, a anime comedy and try to look at it, judge it by our American standards of comedy? Would that be considered? Would that be considered being subjective or objective?
Well, this is tough. Because now that I know so much about the Japanese culture and stuff like that, I'm very subjective towards Japanese films now. It's like I get a lot of the subtlety references that they make that are different from, European or American cinema. However, I am also very subjective against French cinema. I hate French cinema. Now, there are exceptions. An example, Joan of Arc, the 1920-something epic, and Napoleon, another 1920s epic. But I'm just so biased against French cinema because, to me, it feels like they're being artsy for the sake of being artsy, and that's it. And, of course, then there's me who always likes a reason behind stuff. So, to be honest, I don't really know how to answer that question.
Okay. David, do you think whenever you look at something that's from another country, do you think you are watching it as being objective or subjective?
With comedy, it's really a mixed bag for me. It's kind of like 50-50 because comedy is a very difficult thing to write unless you're trying to write it like South Park style, which is how I'm writing the SOS movie. But if you're trying to go for a legitimate comedy, Not that I'm saying that South Park isn't legitimate comedy. It is. It's just that there are different forms of comedy that work on different formats. Like, I don't know if, like, let's say, South Park may work because it did with the movie, but let's say a sitcom like, let's say, How I Met Your Mother or Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I don't know if that level of humor can work on, like, the big screen. Because, there's, like, levels of comedy that can work on TV or in from a theatrical format, and they may or may not sync up. Like, I regret to say that I saw the movie Sex Tape in theaters. I didn't pay for it. I snuck into it, but unfortunately I saw it with my father, and it was one of the most awkward experiences ever.
Whose decision?
What the hell were you expecting in a movie called Sex Tape?
It wasn't my dad's decision because we always sneak into other movies. So Sex Tape was right next door to the movie we were watching, which I forgot what it was. And he said, "Come on, let's go see this." I'm like, "Dad, I don't think you're gonna like this. You walked out of the first 10, 15 minutes of Neighbors, and this is a movie called Sex Tape." And so he was like, who cares? Come
Well-
on. And then the first 5 minutes started, and he was like, let's go. I'm like, no, too late. I want to watch it now. You got me hooked. Too bad. And using that movie as an example, it would probably work better as a television show, like either like on Comedy Central or Adult Swim.
HBO. I was thinking like HBO.
Or HBO, yeah. When I look at something objectively, I look at something like South Park or Always Sunny, which are, satirical. They're not supposed to be taken seriously, although it really depends in the case of South Park. But with something like Always Sunny, it's a satirical thing, so you're not supposed to take it that seriously. But if you're trying to, sometimes when a movie becomes too unfunny, as the case it was with Sex Tape, which in my opinion relied heavily on cheap gags, I do tend to look at it more subjectively because I kind of criticize the way they do the style or writing of the humor in the comedy, because I would be like, that doesn't work in a movie. It works better on a television show or whatever.
Yeah, I have kind of a reverse example of that. The Men Who Stare at Goats. I watched the trailers being like, this is going to be the stupidest fucking movie ever. It's going to be nothing but slapstick humor, and it's going to be terrible. So I went to see it, 90% sure that I'm going to hate it.
Like
this is going to be like the stupidest thing ever. So then I went to see it.
And I loved it. Every fucking second of that movie. Mm-hmm. To me, and I know I get criticized for it, but to me that is the funniest movie I've ever seen, The Men Who Stare at Goats. I about pissed my pants laughing watching that film, because that's my kind of humor. It turned out to be really slow, really dry, really just stupid, but in a good way. And that was a case where I was being very subjective going into it, and it turned around and kicked me in the ass. So again, nothing is ever in this subject set in stone. Nothing never is. For example, Michael Bay's The Rock. Mm-hmm. Genuinely like it. Not afraid to admit it. Genuinely like it, even though Michael Bay made it.
Yeah, I like the movie too.
Yeah.
Granted, it's
pre-Transformers Bay are pretty good, as a matter of fact.
No, oh no, I still have a bad taste in my mouth from Pearl Harbor.
Of course, you being like
the
war enthusiast.
Yes. So you know how much I love epics.
Right.
We both know how much I gush over epics.
Mm-hmm.
Pearl Harbor screams I should love it. It's got huge sets, hundreds of actors. It's set during a history piece, or during a historical event. But I hated it.
Because Michael Bay.
Actually, no, he's not the reason why I hate the movie, but the reason why they bastardized history so fucking much. Anyways, but everything about that film screams that I should have liked it, but I didn't. So I guess that's another example of me being subjective and it just kind of turning around and kicking me in the ass.
I guess, could you say that your experience with Godzilla vs. Gigan could be another example of it, where it's something that you should like, but in the end you didn't? Because you were being more objective?
Everything about that film I should like. It has lots of explosions, lots of actions. It has some decent characters in it. They're stupid, but they're supposed to be stupid. I should like Godzilla vs. Gigan, but I don't.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that's being more objective or subjective?
That's an example of subjectiveness kicking me in the ass.
I kind of have a bias, a positive bias point of view with Godzilla vs. Gigan, because that was literally the first Godzilla movie I ever saw. But I do admit that it is a bad movie in its own right, because it's basically what I like to call a referential film. It uses like recycled material And I didn't realize that when I was a kid because this was the first Godzilla movie I ever saw, and because because it uses the best recycled footage from previous Godzilla films, this was the reason why I thought this is the greatest movie I ever seen. And now I kind of don't see it from a critical point of view. Well, I do every now and then because I do like to point out the scenes from previous Toho films, but I look at this like, oh, all the good times. But
I have that with Godzilla versus Megalon.
Megalon, I just love.
That's the case where I should hate the movie. I really should. Not really good characters.
Not really good villains.
I agree.
Good villains, and I should hate it, but I don't.
I agree too. That it's the type of Godzilla movie where, for some reason, a lot of non-Godzilla fans who like to poke fun of the franchise, they always reference back to films like this, like Megalon or Godzilla's Revenge or Monster Zero, and they try to define the genre by those films. And that always irks me, but still, I really can't blame Megalon all that too much because there's just so much awesomeness behind it. It's the type of Godzilla movie that I really shouldn't like, but I do. It's like amongst my top 15 favorite Godzilla films.
I have two great examples of this, of me being extremely subjective. The first one I want to talk about is The X from Outer Space. I have a lot of nostalgia for that movie. My father and I would sit down and we'd watch it together. He would take time off from making pallets, and he'd sit down with me, and I'd be right next to him, and we'd be watching The X from Outer Space or Yongari Monster from the Deep. And because of that, when I hadn't seen The X from Outer Space for like 10 years, over 10 years, when David uploaded The X from Outer Space, that was the first time I'd seen it in like 10 years. And I watched it, and all those memories came sweeping back. And because of that, I will fully admit that I'm biased towards the film. It's not a good movie at all. It's a terrible movie by almost every stretch of the imagination. However, I love it because of the memories it brings up. That, and I love Giloa. But anyways, the other example of a movie that I should hate, but fucking love with like every ounce of my body. In fact, it is number 16 on my top 15 favorite list. Is The Green Slime.
Right.
That's just an example of a movie that's just so bad. You just fucking love it. Like every chance I get to promote that movie, I do. Like it's just so much fun. But that's another example of a film that I should detest. Terrible characters, terrible acting, terrible visual effects, but it's so fun.
That's a lot like with me and The Spirits, where it's a bad. Have I mentioned this before on Shuwatch, or at least on SOS? But The Spirit is like this movie that it doesn't work at all in any sense of the imagination. The characters suck. The plot sucks. It's just like a bunch of random ideas being thrown at the wall, and none of them sticking together. It's all just like one big Frank Miller fantasy, and yet that's kind of why I like it. It's so crazy, it's unbelievable. It's like one of those things where you have to see it to believe it. It's like, wow, it's Samuel L. Jackson smacking the Spirit in the face with a toilet. Is this real? Is this real life, or is this fantasy? Caught in a landslide with no escape from reality.
Oh god.
And of course, it plays to the whole like action film noir sort of thing that Sin City kind of established, and that sort of stuff. It just like it oozes with style, and I love how the movie looks. I just love watching the movie just from a visual point of view.
Which is so funny because I hate that visual style.
Yeah.
Well, at least in film. In comic books, love it, but in film, no.
So you're not a fan of the visual style of Sin City itself?
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I see that.
I have a hard time watching those movies because of the visual style. However, the plot is phenomenal. Love the plot. I love the acting. I love great characters, great plot, great writing.
You know, that's
just I don't like the visual style. I respect the visual style though. I respected because of how accurately, at least the first Sin City was to the book.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, I respected it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I was able to watch it. But
Mm-hmm.
I have a very hard time with that visual style.
Mm-hmm.
Another example, though, of a visual style being really wacky and being really crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but me loving it, is the 90s film Dick Tracy.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking love
Love
that
it.
movie.
Yeah.
Fucking phenomenal film.
Mm-hmm.
And the visual style is just so strange, but it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Not what I would have done at all. In fact, I screamed. I was like, I really should hate this, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it. What can I say? I liked it.
May's like for me in general. May I just have like a certain preference for that like old school 30s 40s sort of look to
Vibe.
Vibe. Yeah.
It felt very much like Technicolor, which I
Yeah,
respect
it does. Yeah.
because Technicolor was very. And I said I wanted to bring back this kind of Technicolor. Technicolor vibe in my Mothra reboots.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to bring back the very oversaturated colors, the very,
Like whole lot of bright, like primary colors.
a lot of bright primary colors, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because I wanted to pay homage to like all the. Let's look at as another example. Have you seen Seventh Voyage of Sinbad?
I still haven't. I knew I saw the
Damn.
Blu-ray. I saw the
Okay.
Blu-ray the other day. Is it worth picking up?
Oh fuck yeah!
Okay. I keep trying to look. I keep trying to look for It Came from Beneath the Sea on Blu-ray, but I can never find it. I always see.
Yeah.
I see 20 Million Miles to Earth, but I already own that Blu-ray.
Well, you see, it's like let's see. There's two memories I have of Ray Harryhausen things. One is Jason and the Argonauts. Jason and the Argonauts will always be my favorite Ray Harryhausen movie, not only because of Ray Harryhausen's monsters, but because I think it's legitimately
But because Ray Harryhausen is Ray Harryhausen.
because Ray Harryhausen is Ray Harryhausen. And then there's Seventh Voyage of Sinbad because of the Cyclops scenes. I remember those so well when I was a kid that I can't watch those movies really objectively. I can admit that the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, I get a little bored at parts in it. And I'm like, I feel like I'm waiting for the next monster to come out.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's still not a bad movie, It's stuff like that. Well, let me think of another example for the Technicolor thing. I'm thinking of either the original Mothra or the original Rodan. The colors are very saturated. If you look at them. Like how Rodan looks really red in several shots. That's because that's because of Technicolor. Technicolor makes everything really saturated.
Right. I hate to go into this little mini rant, but I honestly would like to see Technicolor make a comeback because I am getting sick to death of the whole orange and teal color palettes that I keep seeing everywhere. I mean, the fact, first off,
I completely agree, Andre.
it looks so unnatural and distracting now. I first noticed it when I saw the first Transformers movie, but I know that sort of thing has been going on since digital filmmaking became a thing. It's just so distracting nowadays whenever I see everybody's skin looking like they're Oompa Loompas.
Well, here's the thing, there's the bleak coloring, too, where it's like almost all color is gone.
Yeah, where
I'm just sick of that. Like, if you just want to take all color away, just fucking make it black and white.
Yeah, at least it'd be stylish.
I know. And in fact, that's why my new film that I'm going to start promoting here, 1 and 3, I'm shooting it in black and white because I want to pay homage to all the old directors who had to use shadows, who had to use all of this shit because they didn't have color. And that's why I want to do it. However, there are a couple examples to go against that, though, Andres, that I can list that I think they use the color correction extremely well. One is the Hurt Locker. The Hurt Locker screams I should hate it from a filmmaker's point of view because it's completely shot in shaky cam and the color is always off. However, it fits with the movie. It fit with the theme of the films. Like, you know how much I don't like shaky cam. But But that is an example of a time where I felt like the shaky cam really fucking worked.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's only 2 movies that made me feel very claustrophobic
Mm-hmm.
and made me actually feel legitimately uncomfortable because of that claustrophobia. One was Das Boot, and then the other one was The Hurt Locker.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because of the shaky cam and how it was shot. It really gave off the feeling that you were supposed to be feeling while watching the film, and I applauded the director for that.
Mm-hmm. You know, we've shared our own a lot of examples of watching a film and kind of through like a subjective point of view and letting our bias enjoy certain aspects of a movie that we shouldn't like. Now I want to know with David, because he hasn't spoken in a while. What are some films where you tend to be more subjective and like enjoying the parts that work over the parts that don't work?
Let's see.
Kind of like Megalon.
Well, I want to say perhaps Zilla 98, because I do believe that there are some elements of that movie that do work on its own. Because I watch it now from a much more objective point of view, because, you know, I kind of come to terms with it as its own film, and the fact that that character is no longer an incarnation of Godzilla. But there are some elements of it that... okay, firstly, I don't see this movie as a Godzilla movie whenever I do watch it, nor do I even accept it as a Godzilla movie. I see it as a standalone monster film where, in my own little universe, Godzilla is just like a definition to define something gigantic or monstrous, similar to how like that 98 monster movie called Gargantua that I uploaded a while back. The monsters are not called gargantuous. That's just the name of the movie to reference the sheer size of the creatures. I try to see 1998 in that same level. And because of that, I kind of like it as its own monster movie. But at the same time, there are moments where it's difficult for me to accept. I can't believe that they try to pass this on as a Godzilla movie back in those days. But it works on its own because it's dumb but fun. And that's what keeps me coming back to like watching this movie again and again whenever I do feel like it. Because, like I said, it's dumb but fun. And recently, as a matter of fact, I've started watching the animated series. And I can't believe I didn't watch this when I was younger, because the animated series is really, really good.
Yeah, it kicks ass.
Yeah, the only time I ever seen the animated series was when Sony released the Monster Wars trilogy on DVD, and then they released those 3 additional episodes on the 2005 Monster Edition.
Right.
But it never really got me
hooked on it. I guess.
On it because they picked out like the most. You know how like in some shows they have like the best episodes, and they sometimes have like the most uninspired or worst episodes?
I tend to avoid those kind of releases, but so I'll just take your word for it. Like whenever I get a TV show on DVD, I tend to own like the whole series or like a full season of that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, but you know how like every single TV show has like, you know, their best and they have their worst. It seems like Sony picked out like the most uninspired episodes to release. And I finally.
So you weren't a fan of Monster Wars?
Well, it's not that I wasn't a fan of Monster Wars. It's just that it really didn't. It wasn't what I expected. Out of something called Monster Wars, you'd expect the character Godzilla to actually battle these monsters. And I actually watched Monster Wars yesterday because I've been binge watching the animated series. And there's this scene where Godzilla Jr. or Zilla Jr. as they call it now, it comes up to the beach along with its father, and all the other kaiju are surrounding it, and it looks like they're about to fight, but then the aliens called them off, and I'm like, I remember this moment when I was very, very disappointed.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing that Godzilla 2014 didn't come out when I was a kid, because I probably would have been disappointed. But my favorite episode of the animated series so far is this one called Competition, because it's amazing how much they paid so much homage to the Toho Godzilla.
Yeah, Dr. Ifukube.
Dr. Ifukube, Mechanic King Kong, and the fact that the Japanese call him Gojira.
Hey man, he's called Godzilla. I love that. Like, as a little kid, you wouldn't even know. Like, as being kids who didn't have the internet at our disposal, we didn't even knew that Gojira was a thing. So now looking back at it, we're like,
excuse me, Ken. Could you just possibly call him Gojira?
We call him Gojira.
Gojira.
Oh, bloody hell.
Anyways, I'm not bringing up the animated series to, like, praise it. It has a point to it. And the whole reason why I kind of, like, avoided the animated series, well, part of the reason why I did was because it was, like, a product of 1998. Yeah. And as you guys know, back in the day, I was an extremist against 1998.
Didn't you say you liked 1998 when you were younger?
Well, yeah, I was a kid because I ate everything up. Well, not literally, too. But, when I was a kid, 1998, it was called Godzilla. Right. And as a kid, you think to yourself, well, it's called Godzilla. They put it out as Godzilla, so it must be Godzilla. So I basically ate up the product. And, as I grew up, I realized, how the fuck is this anything like Godzilla? My eyes were a little bit open before I grew up.
So you never got, during that brief period of time where you were into Godzilla 98, you didn't have a chance to enjoy the animated series when it was out?
Well, I knew it was on Fox. The problem was I didn't know what time it started, because back in the day, you relied on TV Guide or something.
Or you just woke up extremely early in the morning and just binge watched through the entire Saturday morning block. By the way, this past weekend was the very first weekend where we didn't not have Saturday morning cartoons anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Saturday morning cartoons are dead.
I think they were dead by the time everybody converted to cable or Netflix.
Yeah, I'd say Netflix streaming, that sort of stuff. Yeah, but just wanted to point that out.
But like I said, there wasn't anything like available for me, not even TV Guide, because my parents didn't like buy TV Guide or anything like that. So I didn't know what time the show started. And you know how, like, they had that whole Pokemon versus Digimon war between the networks?
Yeah.
And then they kind of, like, pushed the animated series away in favor of those shows.
Yeah.
So, that was even worse, because not only did I know when did it started, I didn't realize, like, is it even on the network anymore? So I missed it as a kid. I didn't watch the animated series until they released the Monster Wars trilogy on TV.
I wanted to get back to the objective subjective topic, where I had a question where you brought up, David, when you brought up a classics, like you tend to be more subjective with the classics because they already you're kind of influenced by this established reputation that these films like Citizen Kane or 2001 were to have. Now, what happens if you watch something that's outdated? Do you tend to look at it and appreciate it for what it was during the 70s, in other words, being subjective? Or do you tend to be more critical of it and judge it based on modern standards? For example, say you were watching, for some reason, Charlie's Angels. Now, for someone in the 70s, you would say, oh, this is a really progressive show where it's about 3 women who kick ass as private detectives. Yet looking at it now, you would notice that these women have really no personalities. There's no ongoing narrative. These women they have barely any sort of character. They're just like beautiful women who kind of sort of kick butt, but not really, because they're just there to look pretty.
Kind of, sort of. If we're talking about old shows, sometimes I actually look at them 50-50. Sometimes objective and sometimes subjective. And the perfect example of an old TV show is the original Star Trek. Because I really love how that show is both like a piece of entertainment while at the same time something that kind of like gives you kind of like a weekly life lesson. It gives you themes.
Star Trek is a show that was meant to give you hope.
Right.
And a lot of sci-fi films at the time were very bleak and dark. that show was to give you hope, which is why I really admire Star Trek, because it's really the only true science fiction series that I've seen that does that. It gives you hope for a brighter future.
It reminds me of that thing that Bill said on SOS, where it's like, why do all these alien documentaries have to be so bleak and dark? Why can't it be like, hey, aliens, check this shit out?
Look at Star Trek was the only series in the 70s and 80s that ships looked clean and sleek and not beaten up and dirty and junky looking. I mean, look at Star Wars, Aliens, Walt Disney's The Black Hole. All those ships look dirty and disgusting, and then you have Star Trek, which looks very sleek, very clean, very military-like. So Star Trek was always kind of to go against the norm in terms of that kind of stuff, which has always made me admire it even more.
Mm-hmm. So, but you see, with Star Trek, it feels like this is a show that has aged well.
It has aged pretty well, even though the whole World War III and the whole eugenics war thing is dated now.
Right. But what I'm talking about, what if there was a show that's like really a movie or a TV show that's like really dated, like a classic example, Birth of a Nation.
I thought you were going to say something along the lines like the Batman or Superman serials. I mean, if it comes to that, if it comes to that, I would probably look at it more objectively, because it's something from that era when things were limited. So if I tried to judge it by today's standards, I think it would be unfair, because we kind of like TV shows and movies, they've evolved from that point. So to compare, let's say the Batman serials to the animated series, it would kind of be unfair, because while they're both the same product to a certain extent, they are treated differently. There's a different direction to the two.
Okay.
Which is what kind of irks me when people do this comparison between Godzilla 98 and the 2014 version. And people who say that the 1998 version is better than the 2014 version is because they watched it from a much more, I think, a much more objective point of view, while at the same time being secretly objective. Because I believe that people who didn't like 2014, they walked in with the wrong expectations. A lot of people were expecting an action movie. A lot of people, believe it or not, were actually expecting Bryan Cranston versus Godzilla.
And I guess you can blame a lot of that on the marketing of the film.
I do.
Because they really advertised a different movie than what we got.
Well, that's the whole point of marketing, because, if they don't do a job like that where, you get meats in the seats, then they probably won't get employed.
But it seems like kind of like a dick move when you're flat out lying to the audience. I mean, if you were to advertise, say, I don't know, a Pixar movie, they'd show how this Pixar movie is, or they advertised Dark Knight movie, then they show how the Dark Knight is. They don't try to...
Well, granted though, Godzilla's not like that. I mean, we all know Pixar because they've made a shit ton of movies that are really good. Batman is a well-known name. Godzilla, however, you can recognize the name, but no one has really seen Godzilla. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. And I guess whenever people think of Godzilla, they immediately think of that action sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, I thought the advertising for the film was genius. Loved the advertising. Wound up loving it, even though at the beginning I hated it. In hindsight, however, I would say, yeah, it did mislead us a lot, but man, did it really hype me for this film. Which is what advertisement's supposed to do. It's supposed to hype you for a film. But whatever. It is what it is, though. Still love the movie. In fact, I just re-listened to World War G6 yesterday while I was working on some stuff, and I still have to say that my opinions still pretty much remain to be the same as they were in that video.
Funny enough, I think out of all five of us, I think I tend to be the most objective with Godzilla 14. Yeah.
You were.
I don't know.
Far you were.
I don't know why. Yeah. It's what's that?
You were, by far. Actually, it really wouldn't surprise me. I think you're probably one of the more objective ones of the group.
I
mean, and then there's
thank you.
and then there's me who's like fully fucking admits that he's subjective on like everything.
It's really weird because like I guess you can say I was very subjective when it came to Pacific Rim. Yeah, with Godzilla 14.
This is true, yeah.
I don't know why. I honestly I can't for the life of me know why I had a subjective reaction to Pacific Rim, yet I was very objective with Godzilla 14.
I actually believe in what Bill said, and that is he said something along the lines of he built a version of the movie in his head, and it wasn't what he was, and the film wasn't what he had. I think that was the problem with a lot of Godzilla fans.
Well, it's not just Godzilla fans; it was audiences in general. Because
no. I'm talking about Godzilla fans right now because Andres, of course, is a big Godzilla fan like us. Course. And if he wasn't, why the fuck would you be on SOS? And
day 365, they still have not noticed me.
I mean, the problem with Bill was that Bill built a version of the film in his head. And maybe you weren't necessarily conscious of it, but you maybe were expecting a different Godzilla film. And I know it caught me off guard when I first watched it. But I just, for some reason, dug it. I really liked it.
Let's see. So, you mentioned how a large portion of people they reacted negatively towards Godzilla 14 because they were kind of looking at it subjectively because they already had an assumption of what to expect from a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, basically they had like this version, just like Bill, they had a version of the movie in their heads based on the advertisement, where the movie was quite the opposite. I think it was intended to catch you off guard. Because while I do admit I was a bit subjective in the first like 4 years during our World War G chats, but when I saw the movie, I saw it more objectively.
I'll tell you what, the versions of Godzilla that we were talking about in like World War G 3 and 4, I think would have been a far better Godzilla movie than what we got.
Yeah,
but I still fucking like the movie. I still really dug the living crap out of the movie.
We still have a sequel in 2018, so I have a feeling that hopefully maybe will be our movie because I doubt that the tactics they pulled in G14, I doubt they can repeat that with four of the most iconic kaijus in history.
Oh god, cinema. I highly doubt that. I really hope Rodan and Godzilla fight. I just hope it's a remake to Ghidra. I just hope it's a remake to Ghidra the Three-Headed Monster.
Yes, that's what I'm suspecting. I'm suspecting the Godzilla, Mothra, and Rodan will initially fight, and then somehow, by some way, will team together against Ghidorah.
Yeah, because Ghidorah is my favorite Godzilla movie, and I would love if they remade that.
However, when I heard that they were getting those monsters to be with Godzilla, the first person I thought of was Andres.
Thank you.
Was you, Andres. I was like, oh god, I bet you he's like jizzing his fucking pants right now. He starts transforming into fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He's like, I'm coming all the time.
Oh my god, that's gonna be in the SOS movie.
Although I have a really, there's a part of me that's afraid that they G18 or Zilla 18 or whatever it's gonna end up being like like Rodan only has a cameo during the first 5 minutes. Rodan gets a cameo in the first 5 minutes. Mothra shows up for like one scene, and then there's a lot of build up to the Ghidorah fight, but it's only like the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, if Who's McFuckit, Gareth Edwards does that in this movie, we can forgive him in the first film, but we cannot forgive him for the second one, and we will want his head on a fucking silver platter if he does that. So,
so here's the thing.
Exterminate Gareth Edwards!
Exterminate!
Blaspheme! He has blasphemed!
He has blasphemed!
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Two reasons why I think they'll probably avoid that with Godzilla 2. One, the first movie was extremely experimental.
Mm-hmm. It was. Oh god, yeah.
And I think what they were trying to do with it is that, just see what sticks and see what didn't. And since clearly the whole restraint approach didn't stick with a lot of audiences, and even critics loved it, but audiences hated it.
Well, even the critics, they were some of them were like not well a good portion of them because I think it has like a 70-something% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
a good portion.
73.
Yeah, it's still doing pretty decent.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think everyone
people overall liked it.
Yeah. I think the thing is everyone is very split on. I'll let you continue in a moment, David. But I think like when it comes to the critics, everyone is split on Aaron Taylor Johnson. A lot of people say he's flat, he sucks, he can't act, and then there's people like us who's like, yeah, he can act, just that we didn't see a lot of character development because of the writing.
Right. Well, I think a lot of.
Well, no, wait. Sorry, that's me. You guys don't really have a problem with Aaron Taylor Johnson.
No, not me.
I love him.
I think there are a lot of parallels to his character between him and the monsters, especially Godzilla, because they say that Godzilla is an alpha predator in this movie. I don't think so. I think the whole reason why Godzilla is hunting the Mutos is out of revenge. He's carrying. They're carrying. Unbeknownst to Garrett Edwards, I don't think he even knows this. He's carrying out the most traditional of Godzilla actions, revenge, because at the beginning they said, well, not at the beginning. Well, yeah, at the beginning when you saw the Godzilla skeleton, apparently the Mutos used the Godzilla species as kind of like these things to lay their eggs. Mm-hmm. I assume that the Mutos, that species, killed off the Godzilla species, and since Godzilla's the last of his kind, I assume that his family were part of the genocide. So I assume he's hunting out of revenge. It's more like a personal thing, just like Ford, whose father and mother were both killed by the Mutos.
Godzilla's out for revenge.
That's why I think that scene between Ford and Godzilla has so much weight behind it, because they're so much alike in different ways. Mm-hmm. Mainly because they're connected through the Mutos, and they both suffered the same loss.
That scene reminded me of the scene with Shindo and Godzilla from Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah so much. But that's for another video.
So I want to end this section of Shuwatch with one last question, and that is, when it comes to the average film-going audience, which do you think people tend to go with in terms of their style, their way of viewing films, and how do you think this impacts the film industry itself?
I think people are more subjective, but that's because it's human nature.
I would say that
I believe it could make the general audience perhaps stupider. However, I don't hate it like I should. You know, it's like I guess I just have a feeling of content with it.
Would you say like being subjective can be like a double-edged sword?
It can.
Yes, it is, because I mean,
as I said earlier, it's bit me in the ass before, so I mean, and not in a good way either. And
and is it possible? Can you really be 100% objective when viewing a film? No, because I do have that feeling that everybody carries a little bit of bias in every single one of us. Everyone has their own preferences. Everyone has their own likes and dislikes, things that tickles their fancies or does the opposite reaction. And I think like if you're really objective, if you try to make a 100% objective review of a movie, it would probably be along the lines of, this is a movie that has people, they do things. I think that's about like as objective as you can really get, because once you get into whether something is good or bad, I think that tends to carry a little bit of that subjectiveness.
I would say that like audiences, well, not audiences, but more fans of certain properties, especially probably Marvel and DC, they're extremely subjective. I mean, like you said, it can be a double-edged sword, especially now, because back in the day, like let's say 10 years ago, fans, they whenever they would complain about something, the studios would hear them a little bit, and they would kind of like rectify, their mistakes. For example, Batman and Robin. Then we got Batman Begins because the studio listens to the fans. But now, since fans kind of have like that privilege to be heard by the studio, they kind of take it a little bit too far, up to the point where they feel like much more privileged to an extreme extent.
Yeah.
Where
they
feel like they deserve it more than earn it.
I guess you can say that because now people are expecting everything to be exactly like the comics because other films have been very faithful to their source material.
Right.
Where back then, let's say you had a movie like The Mask. The Mask, the Jim Carrey movie, has almost barely it's almost like a completely different entity from the original graphic novel comic book that it was based off of, where it's a lot more comedic. It wasn't dark. It wasn't nowhere near as disturbing as the original book. And even though it was a different beast altogether, people loved The Mask. And yet, if you try to do something like Iron Man 3, where they changed the Mandarin to where he's not an Asian dude or he's not a real terrorist, then people get really upset that he's not like the source material.
Right. But that's kind of that. It's also a double-edged sword with studios now, because back then, if it didn't do well critically or financially, well, more critically from either critics or fans, and I'm going to use Batman Returns as an example. Instead of not producing any more Batman films, they just rebooted it. And nowadays, if it makes money, they'll continue making sequels, even though it sucks. And Transformers is that example. If they probably made it back in the day, it probably would have not had sequels.
But nowadays, the game has completely changed. Where now studios are desperate to make sequels, even if nowadays. Well, I'm going into a whole other topic now, but there are people. There are some producers that are unwilling to make a movie unless it has an open ending that allows for sequels.
Yeah, well, if it makes money, enough money to generate more profit in sequels, or if it's based on a property with an existing fan base, they'll take a gamble on it and produce it. That's the case with novels nowadays. Now they have a bunch of what's this motherfucker's name? Richard Starks or something the guy who wrote The Notebook, and they turned every single one of his books into movies.
Oh, Nicholas Sparks.
Yeah. Now they got 50 Shades of Grey being turned into a motion picture instead of a porno.
I'll never understand the appeal of that thing.
Well, I refuse to understand the appeal because
I'm too afraid to understand the appeal.
Based from what I've heard, and I'm not sure if this is even accurate because I refuse to read the book. Well, 50 Shades is like an erotic novel.
Right, that's as much as I understand. And didn't it originally started off as Twilight fan fiction, but then they just changed the names around, and then presto, instant $1 million?
Yeah. Well, I'm afraid to see this movie because I know I'm going to be forced to watch it when it comes out. The biggest thing I'm dreading, two things I'm dreading when I'm going to be forced to see this movie, is going up to the box office, and say 2-4 Shades of Grey, and I'm afraid that the person, whether man or woman, is going to look at me judging me. I'm I don't want to see it, but I want to get some ass tonight.
Two tickets to 50 Shades of Grey, please. As read by Tim Curry.
Oh no, it's read by Gilbert Gottfried.
He laid down on me. Here he comes! He's gonna explode!
I'm imagining David right now, trying to get tickets for 50 Shades of Grey, and he's trying to dress up like the Ninja Turtles from the first movie. He's got his giant fedora, sunglasses, and a giant trench coat, just trying to hide himself.
Well, I mean, at least when I get the ticket, I'll probably only be judged by one person, and that's going to be the person who gives me the ticket. When I walk away,
he's going to look at you. He's going to look at you. He's like, mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like when you have a ticket, suddenly everyone knows what you're going to watch. And thank God for that, because I don't want people to see me as I walk by, as I head to the theater, looking at me like, I know what you're about to watch. Mm-hmm.
Now, if only I think the only way it could be worse is if you're watching like a concert film, like that One Direction concert film. That's the only way I can imagine it being worst. Like you're coming here like one for One Direction. This is us.
There was this one
in 3D.
There was this one instance where I wasn't ashamed to like buy a ticket, and that was when the second Twilight movie came out, New Moon. Because I'm not afraid to admit this, I was legitimately kind of hyped for that movie, and I went to go see it by myself, and
oh. No.
And I wasn't ashamed to be there because everyone in that theater, in that line, at the box office, they were there for that movie. Mm-hmm. And there were a bunch of guys there, but of course they were going to get some ass later that night. I was just going to sit there, watch the movie, and then go home.
It's funny because I fully admit, and I've warned people about this, it's just like I'm the worst person to go on a date with when it comes to watching a movie. Because I'm either not going to shut up through the entire thing because I'm going to riff it, or I'm going to be dead silent and so glued to the movie it's not even funny. And I usually go to movies alone. I fully admit it.
So did Bill or Nicola ever tell you to shut up?
No, because Bill and I were having the time of our life sitting next to each other being like, oh my god, this is fantastic. We're actually watching a Godzilla movie together. This is fantastic.
If only you guys were to say, like when the part where Sarah's always like, we call him Gojira. Those are some mighty strong words there.
There's some strong words. Those are some mighty strong words there. I finally had an SOS episode named after something I said! No, I gotta... It was just really funny, because I think I was the first SOS member Bill got to meet in person. Let me tell you, he's a big letdown. For people out there.
Trust me, I know from experience.
I try to be as entertaining as possible and try to be as catering to my guests as possible, but man, Bill.
What an asshole. However,
at least now I know what to expect and be objective instead of subjective.
Well, let's see. On that note, I feel like this is an appropriate time to put a cap on my section of Shuwatch, Super Dynamic.
Put a cap in his ass and to walk away.
To put a cap in Bill's ass. So, thank you.
Tickle his asshole.
No, that's gonna be your job. That's gonna be your job. So, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you guys after the break.
「地球は美しい鉄面塔には渡せない」「平和を愛する心には鉄面塔が許せない」「レッドバロンレッドバロン」「スーパーロボット100万馬力」地球は素晴らしい鉄面塔にゃ渡せない未来を夢見る正義には鉄面塔が許せないレッドバロンレッドバロンスーパーロボット空中マッハテ叩け悪の軍団を砕け悪の
Hello, people of the internet. This is my corner of Shuwatch. For the next 30 to 45 minutes, I am God, and there is no turning back.
It honestly Sorry, it honestly feels really good to hear that again.
Well, now that you know that I'm God for the next 30 to 45 minutes, welcome to my section of Shuwatch. And today, I would like to discuss something that, I've been on a wicked Last Man on Earth I Am Legend binge watch lately. I rewatched I Am Legend, I rewatched The Last Man on Earth, I rewatched The Omega Man with Charlton Heston, that wonderful gem from 1971, and for some reason, I'm suddenly really, really invested in post-apocalyptic setting movies, or movies that make you feel very alone and isolated. Those kind of films, I'm suddenly really feeling myself attracted to. And I just wanted to open it up to you guys, some movies that made you feel that kind of way of feeling alone or isolated because of, like, either an apocalyptic setting, or just, something where it's like a character is alone or something like that. I just wanted to open it up to you guys to see if there's any other movies that you guys can say it is. And we'll start with Andres.
This is going to be, off the top of my head, this is going to be a really weird choice, but are you familiar with the Roger Corman-directed film The Day the World Ended?
Yes. Oh, that movie is great.
Now, I remember watching this several years ago when I was still in high school.
I watched it on AMC.
Yeah, I saw it on AMC too, and I honestly really enjoyed the movie for a good majority of the time. I really liked the isolation. I liked how these random characters are stuck together in this house, and they some of them, there's always that one asshole who kind of tries to ruin it for everyone because, paranoia gets the better of him. And I really liked the build-up that they had for the giant mutated monster. However, the execution of said mutated monster man it had left a lot to be desired. Where it's like, yeah, there was a really great build-up to this monster. You see, like, how other creatures have mutated. Then you see his hand. You see, like, his footprints or whatever. And then for the final climax, when you see him, he looks like a Power Rangers villain.
It looks worse than a Power Rangers villain.
Yeah, at least Power Rangers villain, they're goofy, but in a cool sort of way. This one's just like goofy and just like we're supposed to take that serious. You spend all your budget on this costume, and that's the best you can do.
Oh, at least it's not Creature from the Haunted Sea, bad Andres.
All right, it's not Creature from the. It's not like a mixture of like Homer and the Gill Man.
It's not. It doesn't look like a mixture of Homer Simpson and Hedera. With pipe cleaners. But yeah, I actually kind of have to admit I did kind of like the build up to it, and I did like how isolated you felt about it. However, I didn't like the movie that much at all. I thought it was terrible from beginning to end. But yeah,
it was. Sorry, I just want to say it was something like when I saw it. It was probably. I'm not used to watching Roger Corman films. In fact, I think this might be the only Roger Corman film I've watched from beginning to end.
Oh, I love Roger Corman movies.
And it was a very unique experience for me because at that point I had not watched many American black and white sci-fi movies.
Also, I would just like to say that for anyone in the audience who is listening to this, who is still listening to my beautiful voice, I would like you guys to comment I'd like you to like, comment, and subscribe. And in the comments, I would like you to list some movies that made you feel the same way. Because I think this is a very interesting topic, and it's very interesting because it just goes to show you that film is more than just showing a bunch of moving pictures. They can affect you in more ways than you can really think of. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Dave, how about you?
You guys are gonna laugh at me.
Don't worry about that.
I'm gonna choose a movie that is so what's the word I'm looking for? Unexpected. There we go. Mm-hmm. And it happened when I was like in middle school. Mm-hmm. And you guys, I'm even laughing at myself just thinking about it, how this movie impacted me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even that big of a movie. It flopped, but I went to go see it, and it kind of had like this emotional toll on me.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have two movies, now that I think about it. And the second one is a bit more serious. But the first one, which you guys are going to laugh at me, that made me feel a little bit alone, was this movie called Bridge to Terabithia.
I don't hate that movie like everyone else does.
I love it. Even now, I still love it.
I've only seen clips here and there, and it was one of the last reviews one of the last reviews I saw of the Nostalgia Critic. And
do you at least know what it's about?
Yeah, about like a boy and a girl. They use their imaginations to create this world that they can use for pure escapism.
Well, that's the core premise of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but what I really loved about that movie at the time, and I still do, is the relationship between those two characters. Because the way it's kind of like built from its inception, it's really, really sweet and heartwarming, and you really feel like they were meant to be together.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere in the middle of the movie, the girl dies by a pure act of God.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of the theater, I just felt my heart break. And I didn't leave the theater. I went to the bathroom and I cried for 10 minutes.
Just be glad you weren't sitting on a toilet reading Godzilla Rulers of Earth Volume 3.
You weren't Bill Lowe.
But yeah, I was so into those characters, into that relationship. Like, I didn't care that it was like a corny premise or anything like that. I really loved how these characters were written into the movie. And all of a sudden, I just felt like the movie tore my heart out for the sake of being a dick. I'm like, why you do this? While I'm in the toilet crying? Then after 10 minutes, I kind of manned up. I was like, okay, let me finish the rest of this movie. And then the rest of the movie was like a big letdown. And every time I watch this movie, I kind of prepare myself. Okay, because I really love that relationship, because it kind of it kind of gave me hope to some extent. And then to have that be destroyed and remind myself of my life from that time, I'm like, fuck you. But that movie had an emotional impact on me. The second one is this movie that came out a couple years ago. It was in 2011. There we go. And it starred Tom Hardy, called Warrior. And I mainly watched it because I wanted to see his acting skills before The Dark Knight Rises. But I was surprised how good that movie was. How good the characters were in the writing. And I actually became attached to the characters. I legitimately felt for them, and by the time the movie was over, I was all teary.
Were we supposed to be talking about post-apocalyptic films?
Yeah, or films that make you feel alone.
Oh.
Well, I didn't have any films like that, so I just chose the ones that had an emotional impact on me. And those are the only two I came up with.
Your mental intellect ceases to amaze me.
Let's see.
Ooh, Adam.
I want that as a ringtone now. Ooh, Adam.
I want to list two things off before we go back to Andres.
Uh-huh.
I want to list two things off, and one of them is from a show, The Twilight.
Is it the one with the Burgess Meredith in the library?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that was one of the first episodes I ever saw of that show.
It's a phenomenally well-written and well-executed episode, and man, is he a good actor.
I finally had the time. I finally had time. It's not
It makes
fair.
you feel not only sad for this guy, but you're like, don't we all wish sometimes that we were completely alone and that people would just disappear? It's like you just want to be alone. You just want to escape. And that's all that character wanted. He wanted to be alone, and he finally got it. And nothing is like it's going to be. Nothing is like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything. There's always a catch to everything, and I love that. And it made me really feel alone. Mm-hmm. It really did, and I applauded it for that. And however, the next example that I want to say is a very obscure anime film made in 1985 called Angel's Egg. And directed by, I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but the movie is 71 minutes long, and there's only about 5 minutes of dialogue in the whole thing. And there's only like 3 characters in it. And it feels very post-apocalyptic, though you don't know quite what the deal is. But this was a great example of a movie making me feel so alone, making me feel like I need to look over my shoulder. It's extremely well done, extremely emotional film. In fact, Hideaki Anno openly states that it was his inspiration to make End of Evangelion. But it's just another great example of that. Oh shit, I want to mention this too. The first Alien movie.
That's post-apocalyptic? Or no, the isolation, yeah.
Yeah, it does make you feel alone. I said post-apocalyptic or film that makes you feel like alone or isolated. It could be both, but that one really did.
You know what video game that makes you feel really alone? Portal.
Yeah, I love Portal.
all you have is just you and that robotic voice, and as you go through the game, you start to become very distrustful of this, like, soothing motherly AI that is GLaDOS. And by the time you realize GLaDOS' true motives, you are seriously on your own. And it's at that point where GLaDOS just starts taunting you and starts trying to psychologically rip you to shreds, saying that you're all alone, nobody loves you, everyone hated you, you're not a real doctor, you're just like a volunteer, you're nothing. And all of this is happening, while, during that final showdown.
Yeah.
And did you ever saw the fan film, Portal No Escape, Adam?
No, I haven't.
You should, because, again, it gives you that hopeless, alone feeling of, like, just, that hopeless, like, lonely feeling. And, yeah.
I'll check it out.
I forgot what, I know, I think the person who's doing that, he eventually went on to do something else, like special effects wise, or no, I guess he was a special effects guy that went on to get work in Hollywood because of, he got noticed from doing that fan film, which I guess is like the thing that people do now, where they kind of make fan films based off of well-known properties so that they can get noticed and go on to do other things.
Yeah.
Okay, so, let's see. I actually want to bring this up because this is actually a movie from my childhood, Waterworld.
Oh, God.
So, you see, I don't understand the hate that Waterworld gets, because I think it's honestly a very fun, kind of like a adventures. I wouldn't say adventure serial, but it feels like a very fun movie for a post-apocalyptic film. And I really do enjoy seeing the practical sets that they really did build and place in the middle of the ocean. Although it ended up being a really bad move for the makers of the film, because those sets would constantly sink to the bottom of the ocean, so they would have to spend more money rebuilding those sets and actually putting them again in the ocean, as opposed to putting them in like a giant pool or whatever to save time and money.
Yeah. God, yeah.
So, may I ask, what is your issues with Waterworld?
Mainly production. Gonna be completely honest.
See, so you're more upset of what they did behind the scenes, or you just not a fan?
I'm like, that is the worst waste of fucking money I've ever seen. And like, I know that a lot of money was thrown away on Cleopatra, but that is a phenomenal film. A lot of money was thrown away on Apocalypse Now. That was a good film, but fucking Waterworld is a fucking train wreck, man. It's a train wreck. Did you know, by the way, that the guy who directed Angel's Egg directed the first Ghost in the Shell movie?
Oh, nice. Let's see, another. I haven't seen the whole movie yet, although I just love like the last 20 minutes of The Road.
I love The Road. I was going to mention that next. I was like, oh god, like that's the king of isolation movies.
Mm-hmm. Man, it's just so sad and depressing, man, throughout most of it. Especially when you have that guy who tries to rob them, and then the father ends up telling him to get rid of all his clothing and belongings and just leaves him there in the snow.
Yeah. It's a very sad and bleak movie. I actually like the movie more than the book.
Mm-hmm.
I've read the book. The book is phenomenal. Don't think it's not. But
Oh, would you say that Dread would be a post-apocalyptic film?
technically, yeah.
Like, would you...
Like Akira is a post-apocalyptic film, technically.
Where it's like the first, like, society is already dead, it's destroyed, but it's already...
The opening lines of the movie from Judge Dredd is, America is an irradiated wasteland, so you assume there was like some sort of conflict way in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I know you're not a fan of Dredd, but I know David and I, we love the hell out of Dredd. It's just like this. It's like kind of like they've already established a new civilization, but it's a civilization that's barely keeping itself together with duct tape, and it's like, yeah, you can feel like this is a society that could crumble at any point in time, and that the people who are in charge, the law enforcement of this city, they have to go through some really heavy shit on a daily basis just to keep this society from falling apart.
Yeah, I mean, I admire the universe. Don't think I don't. But I don't know. I just don't like it.
David,
What?
your thoughts on Dredd as a post-apocalyptic movie?
Well, I think it's awesome. That's all I gotta say. It's awesome. That's the type of movie I watch subjectively. Objectively, not subjectively. I get the two goddamn words mixed up.
Would Gareth Edwards' Monster be considered post-apocalyptic, or not really? Because it only involves Mexico.
Yeah, it wouldn't really be post-apocalyptic.
Well, technically, yeah, it will be considered post-apocalyptic because it takes place after the aliens have, landed and then started destroying civilization. Because remember, they built that huge wall at the border of Mexico to keep the creatures from crossing.
Right. Although, would post-apocalyptic means it has to be something that's worldwide?
Well, yeah, because it's like the aftermath.
But everything in Monster only takes place in Mexico as opposed to the whole world.
Well, it's only focused on Mexico, but they do what Gareth Edwards does. It does imply that this happened, elsewhere. Uh-huh. And in the sequel, apparently the aliens have spread all the way even to the Middle East.
Ah, okay. But I get.
Okay.
So it's technically a pre-apocalyptic film.
Yeah.
Now that's a term you don't hear. What's another movie I had? Would Escape from New York be a post-apocalyptic or not really?
Yeah, that's extremely apocalyptic. It's post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, or is that more dystopian future?
That sounds more dystopian than anything.
Well, yeah, it sounds more dystopian. Well, actually, it kind of sounds like probably the two could qualify as for Escape from New York.
So how would you guys categorize the difference between a post-apocalyptic film and a dystopian film?
Dystopic is basically Fahrenheit 451. I look at Fahrenheit 451 as like the ultimate dystopic one. The Giver is another one. The Giver, the book, not the fucking film, the book, is a very dystopic novel. 1984 is another one. 1984 isn't post-apocalyptic like a lot of people loop it in. It's dystopic. However, post-apocalyptic film would be, for an extreme example, would be something like The Walking Dead or Waterworld. is a post-apocalyptic film. Akira is technically one, though I say that's more dystopic.
Mm-hmm.
The Road. The Road is definitely post-apocalyptic.
Just wondering, have either of you watched The Book of Eli? Because I think that's like probably the last mainstream, big mainstream.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I never got a chance to see it. I wanted to know if it was good or not.
It was good.
Because I think some critics were saying that the religious elements were a bit heavy-handed.
Well, of course they do. They don't like religion. Or anything.
Let's see. I guess Terminator Salvation is technically post-apocalyptic, although I guess not.
That is supposed to be post-apocalyptic, yeah.
Yeah, although not a lot of people really care for it. It's like you're definitely not going to see it in any top 10 lists of greatest post-apocalyptic films, but I thought it was fun for what it was.
Yeah.
It was a decent action film, although I just wish that Christian Bale wasn't trying to play Batman playing Sean Connor.
Yeah, I don't.
John Connor, I mean.
I really don't. I mean, I understand what you guys do, but I don't hate the film. Probably because I wasn't that big of a Titanic fan. Titanic?
What?
Oh, I know why. Because I was looking at production disaster movies. Titanic popped up.
I was expecting like a Titanic to be like a transforming Terminator.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
Oh, wait, you know what? I actually saw this. There's actually somebody made a Transformer toy out of the Titanic. It's so wrong.
What?
So that's how the Titanic sank.
See, I found a picture. Let's see. Oh my god. Okay. I got the link right now. Here you go. Transformers disasters in disguise.
Oh god. I'm so excited. Yes! I like it.
Titanic bot.
That needs to be an SOS Kaiju, or mech.
The most offensive mech since Tequila Gundam. Oh my god, I saw like a demotivational poster. Yeah, remember when those were popular? Of Titanic bot called Titanic Transformer. Suddenly, that rapping dog doesn't look so bad now, does it? Anyways, let's see. What were we talking about? Post-apocalyptic, and you mentioned Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator. Terminator Salvation is technically post-apocalyptic. Mm-hmm. However, Terminator
is pre-apocalyptic.
Terminator actually sets it up more like a dystopic future more than anything else. I mean, you do have that wonderful scene that is flash forward. Mm-hmm. But you know, I still love the movie though. Don't think I don't. It's just I'm not as big as a fan as like Bill or you even. You know. I'm trying to think of another.
Let's see. You know, I do have some post-apocalyptic animes, and I had 3 of them. One that's definitely post-apocalyptic because like society's complete shit, and that is KaijuNoir Sins. And KaijuNoir Sins was the first. One of the first 2 anime series that was aired on Toonami when it first came back in like 2012 on Adult Swim. And KaijuNoir Sins is a remake or a reimagining of a 70s superhero anime called KaijuNoir. KaijuNoir being this like robot boy who has a robot dog and they go out and fight crime. Here it's a completely different story, and it's like, again, very post-apocalyptic. Essentially, KaijuNoir started the apocalypse, and pretty much the majority of humans are dead, and all that's left are a bunch of robots that are just wasting away in this world filled with desert and sand and rust. And you just have, it's a really depressing show. I mean, goddamn was Casher & Sin's depressing. I mean, I was going through the whole, I kept up with the whole series, just hoping there's some point to it. There's some salvation at the end.
Yeah.
But no, not really. I mean, it just there's really no hope for it. I mean, sure, the main characters, they find peace within themselves, but at the very end, it's like, nope, the apocalypse is still happening. They're all gonna die eventually. Except for Casher. For Casher, for some reason, he cannot die. So he's basically watching everyone die around him, and everyone joining him.
Evangelion is technically a post-apocalyptic film.
That is true, yeah.
Or series. Yeah, Evangelion very much so is a post-apocalyptic series.
Though not dystopian, because it's not like society itself is falling apart.
Has fallen apart, no, it's just the organizations that are in the society that are really fucked up.
Yeah, and technically the apocalypse was Second Impact, right?
Yes, yeah.
And technically, Rebuild of Evangelion 3.0, that's post-apocalyptic.
That is very post.
I was about to say that. Post-apocalyptic. Post.
And then at the end of Evangelion 3.0, we have post-apocalyptic because we have another impact that goes on. How many fucking impacts are there?
So you have post-apocalyptic cubed.
What the fuck? Shinji, you
fucker.
This is the time when I'll agree with it. Shinji, you fucker. What?
Although, just to cut him some slack, which is very strange coming from me, he was attempting to fix the world, but unknowingly caused it to further fall apart.
Which is so funny.
Because
the one time you defend Shinji is the one time I shit
because
all over.
Because he's being proactive, which is a very big change from what we normally see of Shinji.
Beg to differ, but whatever. Well, actually, no, I don't, but whatever.
I would say I love the post-apocalyptic. Well, the reason why I say post-apocalyptic angle is because, again, even though it's technically post-apocalyptic, Evangelion is technically post-apocalyptic since the beginning of the series, this one goes ahead, full-on post-apocalyptic, where, it's Misato, they're basically, they're like pirates now, just sailing.
I hated what they did with...
I loved what they did with that. They have a flying.
They
have a
of
flying.
Course they did.
They
you
have
terrible taste.
They have.
You have terrible taste when it comes to Evangelion.
Shut up.
No.
No. You shut up. No. You shut up. No.
This is the Gamergate of Evangelion.
Oh
my god. I just go from Batman to Walrus. Swear to me. Where are the other Evangelions going? I swear I don't know. Swear to me.
I think this is exactly what Hideaki Anno was expecting. He's the ultimate troll.
He's like, dance, puppets, dance!
And you see, this episode I was going to try to specifically avoid Evangelion.
And since this is my show, I can tell you to shut up.
Yeah, you can.
So yeah, Adam, shut up. Evangelion 3.0 was awesome.
Oh, I love 3.0.
Didn't you guys watch it together or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We both popped our Evangelion 3.0 cherries together. And I was sick as a dog when we watched it.
But we both admitted what was awesome was really awesome.
Oh, it was. Evangelion 3.0. I love the movie. I do. Love it.
You just prefer the direction that the series took as opposed to what this movie took, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Just a matter of preferences.
It really is. It's just a matter of preference.
Let's see. Another. Oh,
That was fantastic.
yes, it was.
I was expecting Dave to just like randomly come in, like, hey.
No, you see, whenever people talk louder than David, which is a really hard accomplishment, he tends to stay out of it until the storm has passed.
Exactly.
Just like with this, the highlight of this episode. how Evangelion fanboys sound to the rest of the
world. Two more examples I have of a post-apocalyptic anime would be After War Gundam X, where this is an alternate universe where. Yeah, 'cause the thing is, during the 90s, Sunrise began experimenting with the Gundam franchise, where every show in the 90s took place in its own continuity. And so for Gundam X, they decided to go a post-apocalyptic route, where they said, here's a universe that's similar to the mainstream one, except at the end of the first show, everything goes to hell. They like in most Gundam shows, they have space colonies. These these like gigantic city, like countrywide pillars that houses like hundreds of thousands of people in space. And so in After War Gundam X, a whole bunch, somebody I don't know who decided a final desperate kamikaze assault by throwing all these gigantic space colonies and ram them into the Earth. So pretty much like a good majority of humanity is just wiped out. There's just like deserts and everything, the whole classic Mad Max sort of Beyond Thunderdome sort of thing. Although the series picks up like a good 30 years later, where cities, like modern day looking cities, have already been like established, and there is some form of government that's running the Earth. Although you have these large stretches of land that there is no civilization, it's just like man against man. And that's where you have our main protagonist comes in. He joins a group of mobile suit pilots, and he ends up finding this ancient robot that was, in a way, kind of played a big part in the apocalypse. And it's just like him and his crew just driving, transporting themselves from place to place, helping out people. And I just thought of another post-apocalyptic Gundam series, which was Turn A Gundam. Now, Turn A Gundam is even more of a post-apocalyptic one because this also takes place in another alternate continuity where there's this Gundam called the Turn A Gundam, and it's so powerful that it has the power to turn all technology, all matter, into like dust. And it literally sent humanity to the Stone Age. So when we pick up in the show, humanity has progressed to like this Victorian, early 1800 sort of setting. And so, but then you have these people who lived on the moon during the apocalypse, and they still have all their technology. So you have these people from the moon trying to colonize on Earth, and so the moon people have their technology, and the people on Earth, they don't have any technology, but they end up finding advanced buried technology.
I love that.
From like underground, and they actually bring up some like mobile suits from previous shows, indicating that this show might be a sequel to any one of those shows from different continuities. And it's only like sort of like a fan service sort of thing. Like like, oh hey, it's that mobile suit from that show. So yeah, it's kind of like it's not a full-on war, but it's kind of like you have the main character who's stuck in the middle, trying to prevent war and trying to promote peace between the two factions.
So cool! I really want to check this out.
Yeah. I feel like you can really get into Turn A Gundam without having to, without any previous experience with other Gundams. And I'll just type up the title right here if you ever want to look it up. Turn A Gundam. A lot of Gundam fans kind of dismiss Turn A Gundam because it's so different from other shows. Because the other previous Gundam shows, they were kind of like Star Wars with giant robots, whereas this one is very, like I mentioned, very different. Even the new mobile suits in the series, especially the Turn A Gundam, look so very different from what Gundam fans normally expect out of their robot designs. I'll show you a link to the Turn A Gundam itself.
You want to know what's going to be an excellent post-apocalyptic film?
What would it be?
My Mothra series.
The Turn A Gundam looks like a Jet Jaguarized version of a Gundam.
It does kind of, I'd say. All right, here's a link to it right now.
I'm looking up Turn A Gundam. Turn A Gundam. Okay, which direction? Oh my god, that does look like a samurai version of Jet Jaguar.
With a sweet mustache.
Yeah, man.
And finally,
oh my god, what can't be unseen? Now all I can see is a mustache.
Mustache.
This one especially looks like Jet Jaguar or Ultraman, one of those humanoid-esque mechs.
I just noticed that it has a blade on its head that's kind of like Ultra 7.
It does? Are we looking at the same thing?
Well, I guess the robot has to be turned to its head has to be more towards the side.
Oh, okay, now I see it.
Well, it's not so much a blade, but it's like a curved thing on his head.
Well,
And,
Ultra 7 has it the opposite way around.
let's see. Oh, you're right. The last example of a post-apocalyptic anime is Getter Robo Armageddon, where Getter Robo Armageddon was like, it took all the different Getter Robo stories from the past and kind of like all puts them in a blender and mishmashed them into one original story. And in this original story, you have the main protagonist. They're dealing with an alien invasion, and the aliens end up setting an atomic bomb, like this really powerful atomic bomb that ends up wiping out 90% of humanity. So then we cut to 13 years later, where you have like a new generation of giant robot pilots trying to fight off the invaders, which I brought up the invaders on Toho Nation, them being my favorite kaijus from anime, because they are John Carpenter's The Thing, but kaiju-sized. They even absorb and eat people and even take on their likenesses. Or take on the likeness.
That's disturbing as fuck.
Or even take on the appearance of like a dog or something. In fact, there's one episode of Getter Robo Armageddon that takes place in Antarctica and deals with a bunch of scientists in a snow base, and I have a feeling that was like made as like a direct homage to John Carpenter's The Thing. And pretty much like the rest of this is like probably the most post-apocalyptic giant mecha anime I've seen out of like the previous two that I mentioned. And so yeah, it's just like this awesome giant robot stuff battling aliens in a desperate struggle for the planet Earth.
I dig it.
So yeah, that's all. Those are my 4 examples of post-apocalyptic anime that I've encountered. Ooh, Fist of the North Star. I think that might be post-apocalyptic, but I may be wrong. But it's like a very well-known anime. Ooh, and Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop is also post-apocalyptic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because everyone just said fuck the Earth. It's already been destroyed by meteors. Let's all go to Mars and Saturn and these other planets.
Yeah.
And another one I have is the Big O, and with the Big O,
post-apocalyptic. I didn't know that.
it is post-apocalyptic. Yeah, because you have this city called Paradigm City, and it's the only city that, as far as the viewer and the people of that town know, that's the only city in existence, because outside of the city is just pure desert and debris and ancient relics from this unknown history that apparently exists. And in the show, 40 years ago in the show, everyone for some reason lost their memories. And so now you have a city stuck in the middle of a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and everyone 40 years or older has no memories of their previous lives. So now, they lost...
Buddhism in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen.
And so, again, so now you have this city in this post-apocalyptic setting, and they lost their history. No one knows what happened in the before time. And again, it's just like you have these people trying to survive day to day in this urban like New York City kind of environment, while there's a bunch of like ancient robots from the previous times, and you have the main protagonist trying to make sense out of it all.
Huh. That sounds really cool, not gonna lie.
It is really cool. So yeah, I think I'm done with my spiel.
Now you thinks you done.
Now I thinks I done.
How about you, David?
What about me?
Do you have any?
Do I have any what?
Okay.
What? What?
Yeah, okay. For the record, Andres, I was listening to you this whole time because you had me interested. Dave over here just doesn't give two shits. Well, anyway,
I was distracted.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes my section of Shuwatch.
Shuwatch?
Shuwatch! Whatever, I'm done. Bye.
Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to the final segment of Shuwatch Super Dynamic Ultra Force Go, Gorizard After Dark.
That's the only thing that popped up in my head right now.
What, something similar to like the Doctor Who intro?
No, I could have gone with that, but no, I was actually referencing a song that I heard earlier at work. I don't know what it is, but it has some dude vocalizing like something like that, and I hated this. I hate that song.
The mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight.
A wingo wop, a wingo wop, a wingo wop, a wingo wop.
What the hell is this show turned into? This isn't SOS.
Dirty motherfuckers.
Hey, at least we're not the demons from outer space.
This is true.
Burn.
Burn.
Burn. Anyways, continue, David.
Anyways, unlike most episodes, I actually have quite a few stories planned out for my segment. And the first...
Should we just like rename this section "Story Time with David Hernandez"?
As read by Adam Noyes.
As read by Adam Noyes. This sounds like a great idea. Not really.
Anyways, I have quite a few stories. One that I know, Andres, you want me to tell again.
Well, I didn't say you should tell it. I just wanted to remind you of it.
And then there's one that the fans, I'm pretty sure our listeners really want me to cover, because it was such a not a big impact, but it was such a weird thing that shouldn't have turned into the way it was on Toho Nation.
Mm-hmm. Then again, you kind of instigated it.
Well, I'm about to explain why, and this is the first story I'm gonna start up with for tonight. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to get the standard edition cover for Godzilla 2014 because I bought the Target exclusive, which features the cover, which I don't like, which is the Halo Jump cover.
Which is funny enough because that's the cover. That's the poster that I liked.
And the one that I like is the standard edition, which doesn't have the Target exclusive content. So, me being the collective freak I am, I had no choice but to go with my collective instincts and just get the Target exclusive for the special features.
All the special features.
Well, shut up, Hundreds. You make it sound like I just never mind. Continuing on. Anyways, a few weeks later, I had the opportunity to get the standard Blu-ray with my favorite cover. And here's how.
Okay, first off, what store is that?
What?
What store that you saw the cover, that you saw the
Standard edition cover?
Standard edition.
Well, I'm about to say where.
Okay.
Where and why I had the opportunity. Okay. There's this video store nearby me called Buybacks. And they're basically kind of like a GameStop, but for like movies, CDs, video games, etc. Where they sell used stuff. You know, basically like a GameStop, but with all those things I listed. And they have their stuff just like GameStop. The covers empty on their racks, and you have to go up front to get the disc.
Mm-hmm.
So, just out of nowhere, I just had the idea, what if I stole it from there? As a joke, I just thought of it as a joke, but then it turned into something serious, like, well, wait, I can actually get away with this. So, what turned into a joke turned into a plan. And then I started jotting down every possible scenario so I wouldn't get caught.
Dun, 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 dun,
I mean, I could have gone by myself, which was what I was initially thinking of, but then I thought, I'm going to need backup, just in case shit goes down. And
you want to drag someone down with you into a life of crime.
Right. Well, I kind of revised the plan to have two people with me at the same time during the daytime, where it will most likely be more busy, instead of nighttime, where it's less busy. So a couple weeks passed by because I was waiting for them to put out the slipcover. I mean, I went there a week after the Blu-ray was released, but they only had the case, not the slipcover. I wanted both, so I had to wait another week. And so a week passed by, and I was getting even more desperate. I was like, all right, screw it, I'll just do it with one guy. That just fucking came out wrong.
Anyways,
Adam,
go
I'm surprised
ahead.
you didn't get that reference.
No.
All right, anyways. So, okay, I got desperate and decided to...
I'm actually going on a very nostalgic trip right now because somebody just sent me the link to the Medal of Honor Rising Sun soundtrack.
Cool.
Anyways, as I was saying. Alright, so I decided to proceed the plan with one guy, just to risk it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so, finally, they have the slipcover and the Blu-ray case together. And I bring with me one of my baggiest shorts with deeper pockets. And we just hang around the place like we would normally do if we ever go there. Just, browse around and then just leave after 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the case with me the whole time while we were browsing for shit, pretending like I was going to buy it or if I was interested, while pretending to be interested in other stuff. And then after 15 minutes, I finally put it in my pocket, and then just as soon as we were about to leave, one of the workers just, approaches us with this stack full of DVDs, and I think, oh, fuck, we're in trouble. I think he knows. And I just kind of okay, I have the Blu-ray in my pocket on the left side of my shorts. So I make a turn to basically kind of hide it.
Now, just for the record, you stole both the cover and the case.
The case and the slipcover, yeah.
Okay. Just want to put that down.
Story.
Just want to put that down for the record.
Kids, don't do this at home. Actually do it and see what happens.
Technically, you can't do this at home. You have to do it at a store.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So you really can't do this at home.
The views of Adam Noyes do not reflect those of Shuwatch.
Yes,
I mean, the criminal acts of David Joshua Hernandez do not reflect the views and thoughts of Shuwatch.
Correction, the pirate acts of Gorzard.
Which are criminal.
Which are criminal.
Fine.
You are a pirate.
Alright, anyways. Long story short, it was a success. And we got some McDonald's afterward. And I took a picture around that same time and put it on Facebook. And if you look at that picture of the stolen slipcover, you can see a McDonald's logo in the background.
I love how you like showed off this photo as if like you accomplished this great big thing of yours.
It was a great big thing. I didn't get caught.
No, it wasn't. You just stole a freaking case. You act like you found like the Holy Grail or something.
It was the Holy Grail.
No, it wasn't.
For me. Because I got my favorite artwork. And I didn't get caught doing it. It was the crime of the century.
Oh my god.
Anyways.
I love this. Keep going. Keep going. I love this.
Anyways. Almost like an hour after I posted that picture, shit got heated on Toho Nation. From two unlikely people, which I really shouldn't be surprised this one person actually like turned it into something that it shouldn't have. And then there was this other person that really, really took extreme offense to me stealing an empty case.
Well, let's just look at the facts here, okay?
Uh-huh.
Now, you stole
Facts.
there's this establishment that's it's not like a big corporation like GameStop or Walmart. This seems to be like some privately owned business, and they rely a lot of their income on buying and selling used products. Now, you just took away an opportunity for them to sell a movie for $30. Without that cardboard, without that slipcover or case, the most they can possibly sell a naked disc for is probably $5 to $10. And let's see, what was the other point I was going with this? And another point is that there are several times in that ridiculously long thread that you claimed you only stole the slipcover.
No, I always say
you kept going back and forth as to whether or not you stole the slipcover and the case, but then there were times you said, "Oh my God, you're just getting upset just because I stole the slipcover."
No, I always said slipcover and case, or sometimes I just gave up and tried to generalize it with cover.
See, that's the mistake you made there, because that's one of the reasons that made them more mad, because to them that makes it seem like you're denying that you stole the case itself.
No. Okay, the guy, his name was Lilo. I think his name was Leo, I don't know. But he had a Thundercats profile pic.
Mm-hmm. That narrows it down a lot.
And then the other guy was called Charlie some bullshit, Charlie Kelly. I don't know. But,
that's a new character for the SOS movie, Charlie some bullshit.
Anyways, it was... Okay,
Charlie some bullshit versus Who's-He McFuckit.
Anyways, it was pretty clear that Charlie was clearly trying to start trouble. He was a troll. I kind of suspected it for a long time. I just never caught him in the act until now. But the other guy was legitimately offended by this. It's as if I punched him in the face, spit in his mouth, then murdered his entire family. This is how he was reacting in that manner.
Wait, you mean to tell me that you didn't do that?
No!
What kind of maniac are you, David? I thought you were a pirate, man.
I am. It's a pirate's
Then you should have killed him.
Well, by all regards, you are most certainly the worst pirate I have ever met.
Yes, quite.
Dun. Okay.
Anyways,
yeah.
That was beautiful, what you just did. That was amazing. I applaud.
I bow.
I bet.
Fuck you, motherfuckers.
You deserve it, David.
Whatever. Continue on with this story. Okay, so out of nowhere, this Leo character, he comes out trying to side with Charlie's ass, saying, "Yeah, you're kind of a scumbag." That's how he started. That's how he inducted himself into the conversation, by insulting me. And he was already on thin ice because of that. I was planning to boot him immediately, as I did with Charlie. But then the more this guy started talking, the more ridiculous this guy sounded. So I decided to, instead of banning him on the spot, I decided to prolong the argument, just to show how ridiculous this guy was taking the situation.
I guess you should be lucky enough that a large majority of our fans were kind of like supporting you.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why they weren't against me, because I got the fans there. That's what one of my friends said. He said the reason why they were behind you is because you were already a well-known established person with them. And the more I thought about it, I was like, he might be right, but who cares? I got my artwork. Anyways.
It's a power no one should abuse. It's a power that can easily corrupt those who have gained over 1,000 subscribers.
Right. Anyways, this guy, he was so angry with what I did. He went as far as to say that I am a terrible human being just because I stole an empty case with a slipcover. And I wasn't trying to
remember, this is an empty case that was already connected to a disc. What I mean by that is, like, this was meant to be sold with a disc.
Right. Well, okay. I wasn't trying to justify the fact that, stealing is okay, but, I really don't care what you do with your time in life. Is your decision. I ain't gonna judge.
Right.
But,
I mean, like, when I saw that post, I was thinking, oh, of course David would do something like this. That's our David. And I thought nothing more of it. I mean, sure, I don't steal, and I'm not gonna judge you because I know it's you. Of course, right. I do judge because it's fun.
Oh, you dirty motherfucker!
I love this logic.
All right. Anyways, this guy, he was trying to pin so much shit on me. Basically, he was also adding words to my mouth by trying to make himself look like the good guy and me like the villain. He was really building up himself to be like this righteous person, basically like a preacher. And he was trying so hard to label me as someone no less different from like a person who shoots someone in the head. And I was trying so hard to basically break down what was this guy's problem. I asked him straight up, why are you so butthurt about this? Why does this bother you so much? And I try to say that, again, I did not try to justify my stealing actions. I try to say that this wasn't such a big deal over a situation.
I think that's the same thing as justifying. You're like, it's okay. I mean, I didn't cause the apocalypse or anything.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen,
it's not like I tried to exterminate all the Jews.
I love this.
Well, listen, he was making it sound like a bigger deal than it was. All I did was steal a slipcover with an empty case that A, was used, B, was empty, and C, has less value than the discs themselves.
But sold together...
Okay, what's the but? There's always a but. What is it, Andres?
Yes, your but. So you see, again, it's not that it's less value than the disc itself. It's just that the disc needs the case in order to be sold at full price, because no one is going to buy that disc for $30, $20, $15, maybe not even $10. So by taking away the case, you are devaluing the disc itself that you left behind.
Well, here's the thing. I only stole...
You're going to hell, David.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I've made my peace with it, and I am ready to ride into hell with style. When I die, I want my casket to be filled with flames in a jet rocket.
I have made my peace with it. I
And
want them to sink into the audience right now.
you're gonna be riding into hell on your I don't know,
Flame tattooed casket
casket with jets with Bill's atheist ass next riding shotgun.
With that music from South Park from the movie, with that music of Kenny's Going to Hell playing in the background.
Who am I kidding? All of us are going to hell.
Yeah, probably.
As I was saying,
we're friends with Bill. Of course we're going to hell.
Of course.
We're friends with Fat Bill.
Yes, Fat Bill.
Anyways, okay. I only stole one case/slipcover out of the 6 that they had. In addition, they will receive more of those, thereby replacing the one I stole. Additionally, it's not like they're going to sell out of those movies anyway, because on a daily basis, they have more people selling their stuff. Also, just like GameStop, they buy the thing from you for less than what you originally paid for. So, okay, the Blu-ray, let's say, was $24.99. They would give you probably like $5-7 for it. So they really had no financial loss, but just by me taking one empty case/slipcover.
Okay.
I'm waiting for Andres' counter argument.
Well, you see, but you said that people are still going to bring in new discs, new cases, but you're still going to end up with more discs than cases, because you're always going to have that like odd number of discs, because one of them is not going to have a case to go with, because it's not like someone's going to come in and sell their case.
Well, here's the thing.
To go with that lonely disc.
Well, it's like I said, they're not going to run out of those copies. Because they're going to eventually have more and more coming. And once they do, they're going to have a bunch of useless discs and case, which probably are only going to be sold like once or twice a year. Because, okay, hypothetically speaking, let's say if like someone stole a $5 movie. Let's say they bought My Little Pony which cost $5 at Walmart. Mm-hmm. Would that be an extreme financial loss?
Yes.
God damn it, Adam! Well, fuck! Why the fuck did I bring this question?
Poor people in fucking China are working their asses off making toys for our personal pleasure. Okay? Somebody probably died making that beautiful toy that you just fucking stole. May God have mercy on your soul.
Well, to be fair, the Blu-ray was made in Mexico.
Oh, good for
Someone
you.
Of your own kind. Somebody of your own kind.
They are not my own kind. They're Andres' kind.
Andres, you should put a hit on this guy. I mean, you're a Mexican. You have drug cartels in your pocket, right?
Oh, sure, yes. Let me just get my personal Danny Trejo-like cousin on speed dial.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, ¿qué pasa, hombre? What do you need help with? I need you to get killed. I want this Salvadorian dead. And now I'm just recreating the whole like little tortilla boy sketch. I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'll show you that video later. Okay. Like a parody of that '90s action voice guy, like in a world where Arnold Schwarzenegger is little tortilla boy. Listen to me. These are my tortillas. I will not let them get to me. So yeah, go ahead, David.
Anyways, I lost my point. Thanks a lot, Andres. Oh, okay. Financial loss. This guy was making it sound like I basically bankrupted the store. And he even actually said that I twisted or forced the studio into basically stealing the discs. That's how he said it. And
what?
Yeah.
All right, that's weird.
He said because one of the last things I said to him before I banned him finally was that you're part of the reason why the world is the way it is, because you force your beliefs on people. And the reason why I said that is because he was the argument eventually turned into an argument about morality. He was basically accusing me of lacking any morality at all just because I stole an empty case / slipcover.
Of course. Well, of course, it would be pointless to argue about morality after all. This is David.
Right. Second of all, I have morality, but it's just at 5%. I don't have it like at 99% like everybody on Earth does. Mine is at 5%. Second of all, he was also pissed at the fact that I wasn't ashamed of it. To which I admitted I wasn't, because I didn't get caught, so why would I be ashamed of it? And basically, the more this guy started talking, the more I started pissing him off, because he was basically expecting me to act a certain way or feel a certain way, and because I didn't, the more the argument prolonged itself.
And that obviously means you're the spawn of the devil.
Oh my goodness.
Of
course, I'm being sarcastic there.
I know.
No, he's being dead serious.
Oh, this guy was dead. This guy was dead serious. I honestly believe that he was joking around, but he was legitimately being dead serious about this. And it was so hilarious that, that's the main reason why I prolonged it instead of, banning him on the spot. Because it sounded so ridiculous that this guy, who I personally don't know, was so personally offended at a situation that didn't involve him in any way, shape, or form. And the more I asked him why he felt this way, he really avoided the answer with more accusations. And, well, finally it came down to, okay, I'm done having fun, so I'm going to ban him.
I'm done having fun.
He ceases to amuse me.
He ceases to amuse me.
Bring out the band hammer!
Well, what mainly made me stop having fun with him is when people started saying, "Dude, when are you gonna ban him? This is getting old." Or all right, fine, it's getting old. Ban. And one of the things I loved that Nicholas said was that, okay, he was saying that it bothered people, and then Nicola just responded back saying, "No, it only bothers you." I'm like, Nicola, I love you.
I think he has a crush on Nicola.
What? You didn't know?
Oh.
Wait, what?
Now it's official.
Wait, who are we talking about?
Fat Bill's friend.
I don't know what I just clicked, but I like it.
I don't even know what we're talking about.
Me neither.
This is gonna be difficult to edit.
This is really going to be...
Yes, it is.
I did not envy you.
You are getting extra editing work. Andres!
Anyways, continue so I know where to continue off.
Anyways. Well, yeah, that was the end of that. Some guy got legitimately pissed off and offended just because I stole an empty case, which he made it sound like I bankrupted the fucking video store and killed a bunch of homeless people.
You didn't you?
No, I did not.
Oh.
Then what was that other store that you bankrupt?
What other...
I love you, Andres.
What other... Now I'm beginning to think that something probably did happen, and my mind's blocking it.
People died because of your stupid decision.
People died, David. You had one job.
Yeah,
one fucking job.
All right, that's the end of that story. And here's Andres' favorite story.
I don't even know what he's talking about. I'm waiting.
Then you're about to have a little nostalgic feeling. Okay. I talked to you about this before, Andres,
okay.
And a bunch of our listeners are going to be surprised that I was involved with something like this.
All right.
Oh,
It was the time when I was in a band.
Oh!
I'm going to love this.
Yes.
All right. Andres already knows the story, but Adam doesn't, and neither does our listeners.
Uh-huh.
This, if you're my friend on Facebook, I'm pretty sure you looked over my pictures. There's pictures of me from 4 years ago where I had this emo-style red hair.
I'm looking for it. I mean, I've seen it before, but I'm going to look for it again.
It's basically the hair that I adopted at the time from this musician called Cell Dweller. And I was so obsessed with him.
Yeah.
I was so obsessed with him that I took his hairstyle.
Oh my god.
And
This This is Jim. This is great.
Anyways, my friends, they were, well, they still are. They were forming a band, and basically they always jammed to, like, covering songs. They never produced original shit until now. So they kind of, like, got their first gig. Well, it's not really considered a gig because we played unofficially. But anyways, I'm going to call it a gig. Anyways, we got a gig to play at a friend's birthday party. And for the record, this was a Mexican friend, a paisa. And for those of you who don't know what a paisa is, it's basically a person from the home country, straight from Mexico. Basically an immigrant who is not really cultured in Western stuff or Americanized in any way. He or she is purely Mexican. That's what we call a paisa. So there were a bunch of Mexicans there, and we were the only, like, Western rock-looking group there, so it was embarrassing. And I was the only one there with red hair.
This is fantastic.
I'm looking at the pictures right now and imagining this version of David in, like, a really hardcore Mexican party, you know, with, like, the mariachi style. Da, 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 da.
Oh, they played some mariachi after we were done.
Ay, 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 ay.
And okay, anyways, so the gig was in 2 to 3 weeks, so we only had 2 to 3 weeks to, like, prepare ourselves, and we had a song set, basically covering a few songs. The ones that I remember were 2 Metallica songs, Search and Destroy, Master of Puppets, a fucking Bullet for My Fucking Valentine song that our drummer chose, and we all opposed to it, but we decided to, like, you know, give him a bone and just cover it. And I think 2 Black Sabbath songs. No, it was 1, because I remember it was my least favorite Black Sabbath song, and I hated the fact that I had to, like, memorize lyrics, and it was Paranoid. So, basically, we spent the next 2 to 3 weeks practicing, and then the night of the gig comes. And so, one of us, for some reason, decides to suggest we should film this for future archival purposes. And so we go to my fucking house and get the camera, and
Oh my god.
one of our friends films it.
Oh
And
god.
let me tell you,
Oh no.
that video of the gig is out there on YouTube. It's out there.
You have to send me a link so I can put it
Oh
in
no,
the description before.
No. This is the one thing that I plan to stay buried. I am not going to tell you the name of the band because more than likely you will.
You shared so
Find
much
it,
You shared so much embarrassing stuff on this show and SOS. This is the one thing that you decide to put your foot down on.
I'm
Yes.
going to find this. Yeah, it is my mission to quote General Zod. I will find you. So I'm going to type this on YouTube, and I will find this.
I won't tell you the name of the. Okay, we didn't even agree on the name. What I just did, I just randomly called ourselves something that we didn't agree on.
Bloodshots.
No, I won't tell you the name, but I will tell you where I got it from. I got it from Arkham Asylum, the video game.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
so this is pretty recent.
Was it Arkham Asylum? It was the very first Arkham game. The
Yeah,
very
Arkham
first
Asylum.
one, before Arkham City, before, Arkham Origins. Very first one. Yeah, this was around 2011. 2010 or 2011, but one of those two. Anyways, I was going to call ourselves, without the band's approval, Unleash the Kraken. But I panicked at the last minute and settled on that one name that I will not reference. You're going to have to find it yourself.
Uh-huh.
And it's... If you really want to dig deep into what the name of the band was, it's during the Scarecrow level where, the boss battle.
Oh, wait, you told me the title of the band. Yes, I know. I'm gonna check. I'm checking right now.
Oh, Andres, do not... Alright, anyways. The gig lasted for 20 to 30 minutes. And it's all taken from 2 different angles. Oh my god, Adam would crack up at the way that this was
Yeah, I want to see this right now.
Anyways, looking back on the video, I'm embarrassed because I had no harmony or rhythm or any vocalization. All I did was just yell into the mic.
Mm-hmm.
And and the guests, the Mexican guests, I guess they were mocking us because it didn't seem like they were supporting us. I mean, they were there, they were watching us, but it didn't seem like they were like supporting more than poking fun at us. Because when we started playing Paranoid, one of the Mexicans started headbanging, Nicolas Cage style.
Paranoia, you said?
Paranoid.
Paranoid.
We started playing Paranoid. No. We started playing Rodney James Dio's Holy Diver first as a test. Then we played Dio. And then they started mocking us with their mock headbanging. It was funny was that they were holding their hats at the same time while headbanging. So, after that, we decided to stay a little bit, eat some shit, while they were playing mariachi music, and finally the Mexicans got down on the dance floor. And one of the, I guess one girl, she just came up to us and said, "Were you the band that was playing?" And in the back of my mind was like, the D. She wants the D.
So...
And I don't mean the David.
You'd wish it was the David.
Anyways, basically that video is out there. I know because I gave the bassist who became the lead singer afterwards a copy of the DVD, and he put it out there. And it's not easy to find, but I know how to find it. So if any of you are really, really curious, then you really have to try hard to find this music gig. Because it ain't easy to find. But it's out there.
See, I'm thinking whether or not to share with Adam right now the name of the band.
Okay.
No. Adam has to be in complete, total mystery about it.
Well, you pretty much already said it's part of the Scarecrow boss level. I mean, I'm sure Adam has played Arkham Asylum, and
Yes, I have.
But he doesn't know which
line that he said.
It's
the coolest it's the coolest line, Adam.
Just fucking tell me.
Oh,
Seriously?
I'm going to regret this.
Here you go, Adam.
Do not show the audience. Okay, fine.
I'm showing.
Do not show the audience. I want them to be in complete, total mystery of the name of the band.
Okay, did you get it, Adam?
Because that might be the only link they need to find it.
Where are you sending it?
I sent it to you through Skype Messenger. Okay, fine. I'll send it through the chat right here.
Yeah, just fucking do that, you idiot.
Yeah.
There you go.
I can't believe I told you the name of the band, Andres. I was vulnerable. You were the only one there.
He's like, I need someone to talk to.
Oh my god. David.
Sometimes...
David.
What?
What? Why? What and why? Answer me that question right now. Answer me those two questions right now. What and why?
What? Why what?
Your mental intellect ceases to amaze me. What have we only been talking about for like the last hour?
We've been talking about it's story time with David Joshua Hernandez.
Exactly.
As criticized by Andres Perez.
And a little bit by Adam Noyes. Oh my god, it's 3:22 a.m. here.
Alright, well, I believe we have finally come to the... Oh, wait, did you finish your story?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, alright. Well, I believe it is now time to bring this chapter of the Shuwatch saga to a close. Thank you for joining us this evening. I am Andres Perez, a.k.a. KaijuNoir.
I am Gorzard. And bitches leave.
And I am the ever-sexy Adam Noyes.
And until next time, true believers, take care.